ASU has a shot to do the unthinkable and start the new season 5-0, and it's thanks to these changes from last year.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. Don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications wherever you're getting your shows. Stay in touch by following me on Twitter at RichieBrads36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. If you have not subscribed on YouTube yet, do me that solid. Hit that subscribe button to help us get to 1,000 subscribers. It's right around the corner. And when we get there, we're going to find a way to celebrate together as a channel. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast. And today, we answer the question, can ASU really start the year 5-0? In case you haven't noticed, ASU is 3-0. They completed They completed non-conference play 3-0. They beat Wyoming at home, beat down Wyoming at home. They took down Mississippi State at home for their first ever SEC win. And then they went on the road to beat a really good Texas State team that you'll be hearing a lot about by the end of the year as one of the better G5 programs in the country. These are 3 good wins at the end of the day. Now you open up Big 12 conference play. You start in a very difficult spot. You head to Lubbock, Texas, and you take on a Texas Tech Raiders team that can put up points at will. This is going to be a shootout, and it's going to depend on ASU's offense being able to keep up, because we saw that ASU's defense can be exploited. They did make some really good adjustments, but they can be taken advantage of, and Texas Tech has a really good offense. So ASU's got some work to do there. But if they're able to take down Texas Tech, start the year 4-0, start the year 1-0 in conference play, you get a bye week, so you get to come home, you get to relax, you get to chill out, you get to rehab from some of the injuries that the team is dealing with. And then Kansas comes to town the following week. Kansas, your first home game for the Big 12 era. That's another big one. Kansas, they're slumping right now, sure. This is still a really good team that a lot of people, including me, picked to be one of the heavyweight contenders in the conference. That's still a tough game. Getting to 5-0 would be nothing short of an accomplishment. But it's not the easiest task in the world. First of all, the path to getting the 5-0. We've already established how you got your first 3 wins. I do want to jump into that a little bit more, though, because I've seen people in my comment section. I have seen people in the media as well who are saying that ASU's 3-0 start is unimpressive, or they haven't beaten anyone, this, that, and the other. First of all, you play the teams that are on your schedule. I'm sorry that ASU didn't schedule Bama, Georgia, and Ohio State to start the year. But they scheduled 3 more than quality teams. It's not like they had 3 FCS teams. They are still 3 quality teams. You beat who you're supposed to beat. And ASU beat those 3 teams. They beat down Wyoming. They held on to close out Mississippi State. And they had a great comeback on the road against Texas State. Beat the teams that are in front of you. It doesn't matter who they are, whether it's Bama or Texas Abilene Christian. No offense to Texas Abilene Christian. It was just the first school that popped into my head. Beat who's in front of you. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Because guess what? If ASU started the year 0-3, you'd be trash talking them to no end. And deservedly so. but they start the year 3-0 and you're not willing to give them their flowers. I don't care if you're an ASU fan. I don't care if you are someone in the media. I don't care if you're an ASU hater. You need to be objective and say ASU is 3-0. They have won 3 games each of the last 2 years. We should probably give them a little bit of respect. Now that that rant is over, I'm going to step off of my soapbox and I'm going to put the fries in the bag. You need to beat the teams that are in front of you. You need to be able to close out the games. I've said on this show a countless number of times, ASU was not capable of doing that last year. They were in a lot of close games that they just couldn't win. They didn't know how to win. There it is. There's your aha, there he said it moment. They didn't know how. They do this year because last year, this ASU team is not beating Mississippi State and they are not beating Texas State. They're not able to hold on to that lead against the Bulldogs, and they're not able to make the comeback on the road against the Bobcats. So there's been pretty dramatic differences here. There's also that mentality that Kenny has instilled with this team, and that is it is a one-game season mentality. And what that means is every week is a brand new season, and you either finish the season 1-0 or you finish the season 0-1. But the moment that week is over, it's on to the next one. We're on to the next season. Last season, we went 1-0. That's awesome. We beat Wyoming to start the year. Who cares? It's time to focus on Mississippi State. Oh, we beat Mississippi State. That's awesome. Celebrate for a day. Time to prepare for Texas State. You beat Texas State. That's great. We have a long weekend. Now we're back. Time to prepare for Texas Tech. That's the way that these guys are geared up to be thinking right now. That's the way that everything is working in their head, is we need to be ready for the next one. We can take 24 hours to celebrate, and then we need to move on, move forward, and make sure that we're going to be staying ahead of the curve. It's the right mentality that they need to have. Now, as far as these next 3 weeks go, you need to prove that you can be road warriors again. It was a good win against Texas State. The thing that was so impressive in that win was your ability to go stride for stride, blow for blow with everything that they did offensively. So when Texas State had a big play, ASU answered with a big drive. ASU was able to keep up. It was Steve Rogers before he got the superhero sin. Oh my goodness. Superhero. Now I can't even think of the word I want to use. I don't know. And he's getting beat up in the alley and he just goes, I can do this all day. Like that was ASU. That's the point I'm trying to make. This is a team that is clearly better than they were a year ago. They proved that they can do it on the road in this game. The second thing that was so impressive was their ability to make not improvisations, the adjustments. There it is in the second half. You look at the way the defense came out after a brutal opening drive. They shut down the Bobcats the rest of the game. Last 3 possessions of the game turned into 2 turnovers and a turnover on downs. Can't dial it up much better. You need to be able to do that against Texas Tech this week. Set the tone that you can go on the road and win, but you can go on the road into seriously hostile environments within your conference and pull out those wins. Because Lubbock is not going to be an easy place to play. And it's going to be loud, and it's their opening to Big 12 play as well. So this is a really big statement game for them as they're trying to prove that the way they have started the season is not indicative and reflective of the team that they want to beat. So they want to beat ASU and expose the pretenders that the Sun Devils are. So be the road warriors. Then you come back, you enjoy that bye week. This is all provided you win the game. You're 4-0, you come home, you take a couple of days, and you take that time to not so much relax, but just get yourself refreshed, ready and moving forward. Stay in that game shape, stay in the mentality of the one-game season, but in that bye week, take some time to applaud yourself a little bit for the start that you got off to for this season, because it's phenomenal, and it is nothing short of impressive what the Sun Devils have been able to do this year. After that bye week, Kansas comes to town. Your first home game in the Big 12 is a big one. Like I said, I know Kansas is slumping. They're 1-2. They're still a really, really good football team, and they should not be counted out by any stretch of the imagination, not anytime soon. That is still one of the teams to beat in the Big 12. They're off to a really bad start, undoubtedly. Until they start slumping in the Big 12, I'm still going to consider them one of the better teams. You get them in Tempe, though. This needs to be one of the biggest games of the year for Sun Devils fans. I want to see this Valley activated. I want to see that crowd absolutely sold out. Student section, I want that record broken. I want at least 90% capacity from the fans in the stands. I want it to be loud. I don't care if the game's at 6 in the morning or 11 at night. You need to be loud. You need to be active. You need to be at the game. Because if we're able to do that, we're going to place our Sun Devils in a perfect position to start the year off 5-0. And again, it is impressive, no matter which way you cut it. ASU's off to a very impressive start for this season. They deserve their flowers for sure. Now, how they got here from last year in 2023, and even before that, 2022, with those back-to-back 3-win seasons, how they got from that to a 3-0 start, we're going to talk about that next in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hey, everybody here at Locked On Sun Devils. If you haven't heard about Roy, let me tell you about it. Roy stands for Return on You, and it's a new platform that allows you, the fans, to get involved in NIL like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. By supporting players directly, you can help shape rosters, retain talent, and keep your favorite athletes out of the transfer portal. As you all know, NIL has changed the game for athletes. Roy changes the NIL game for fans. What is so unique about Roy? Like I said, it supports the players directly. Roy allows fans to directly back their favorite college athletes. With Roy, fans can play a key role in shaping the future of their favorite teams while athletes maximize their name, image, and likeness potential. By using Roy, fans not only support athletes financially, but also become part of that name, image, likeness, NIL journey, helping them to succeed both on and off the field. Download Roy for iOS or Android and enter the referral code Locked On, and you'll automatically be entered into a sweepstakes to win $5,000 cash. Visit roy.com for additional details. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Get the Roy app on iOS or Android. Start making your impact on your favorite team. Use the referral code Locked On for opportunities to win $5,000 cash. Again, join roy.com for more details. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Get off the sidelines and into the NIL game with Roy. Wherever you're getting your shows, like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get that update whenever we post new content. I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. How did ASU get here? What has changed over 1 year, over 2 years, that we have seen ASU in arguably the worst spot that the football program has ever been in the existence of it, the 2022-2023 seasons. It's unlike anything I have seen in my lifetime, in my 30 years on this earth. I imagine that it's got to be up there with some other generations too. I know my dad, almost 60 years old, doesn't remember a time where it was as bad as where it was. It has been tough for ASU football, athletics in general, but football has been tough. So how did this team turn around so quickly? Besides talent, because that's obviously one of the biggest factors here, is ASU added some serious talent this offseason. several guys through the transfer portal who were former 4-stars, a guy who was a former 5-star in Malik Brown come through. You pull in 2 4-stars in your own recruiting class. Your recruiting class in general is one of the top. I think they ended up like top 30 in the entire country. ASU had a huge roster turnover from last year, and this team got significantly better. So yeah, obviously talent plays a pretty big role in how ASU got better from 2023 to 2024. But I'm here to tell you the biggest reason has been Kenny Dillingham being able to get the players to buy into this culture. From the first day that Kenny Dillingham stepped out and onto ASU's campus as their new head coach, he had one thing in mind, which was to activate the Valley. We've heard it since the day he got here. It is a hashtag that has been trending ever since. It is the movement for Arizona sports. Part of getting that Valley activated was obviously getting the fans involved, but it was giving the fans something to want to get involved with, giving the fans something that was worth investing their time into. And fans don't want to watch a crappy football team. You can call that as it is. I don't want to watch a crappy football team. I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan. I am not having a good time to start the year. These things happen. ASU knows that to get the support of your fans, you need to give them something that is worth watching, worth investing into, worth taking time out of your weekends to sit down in front of the TV, to go to the games, to go to a sports bar, and invest into this program. So Kenny knows this. He starts adding talent. He starts building a great coaching staff. We'll talk about the coaching staff in a second. He brings in these players with one thing in mind, and that one thing was establishing a culture of winning, of consistency, of reliability, dependability, accountability. That was the whole goal. Because sure, you could have brought in tons of guys, I imagine, that would have been much higher star quality and stuff like that. I know that Kenny Dillingham mentioned several times that there were 5 stars the program looked at, and they just didn't feel they were a fit for their program because it didn't match the culture that they were trying to establish. Now, I know some people would get pretty pissed by that, and it's like, why are you telling 5 stars not to come here? Because at the end of the day, it's bigger than the talent. It's about establishing a culture. And that's what Kenny Dillingham has done very quickly. In 2 years, Kenny Dillingham has taken a program that was just hard to care about, honestly. With the way that Herm Edwards treated the team, with the way they mismanaged all of their talent, it was hard to care. You just call it as it is. It was hard to watch a Sun Devils team that didn't have the heart to go out there. There were absolutely some players that did. There were several guys, all-timers, who did their best. But you can't tell me that looking at these teams compared to previous teams, you don't see a difference and a change in the mentality that these guys have. It's been established here by Kenny Dillingham. And now you're getting the Valley to back them up. You're getting the fans back involved. Look at the student section. Back to back, what was it, like 12,000 attendance, 10,000 attendance? First game, it was 13,000. That's just the student section. People care about this football program. Now the stands are starting to get a little filled up too. I imagine if you come back 4-0 from Texas Tech, that should be pretty darn close to a full house. This is a special time right now for ASU athletics. And it's because of what Dillingham has been able to bring here. You also look at some of the other consistency. Brian Ward is back for year 2. Brian Ward is one of the best defensive minds in college football that you have never heard about, unless you listen to this podcast, and then you know everything about Brian Ward. He's terrific. And having some of the guys return from last year, like Shamari Simmons and Xavier Alford and Clayton Smith, they have really key pivotal guys that are able to bring in the new faces like Cyrus Fiaseu, like Keyshawn Elliott, and get them playing up to speed sooner rather than later. You have Marcus Arroyo coming in as your offensive coordinator. Look at the consistency that he has brought. Last year with Bo Baldwin through 3 games, call that as it is too. It was bad. It was so bad that Kenny Dillingham took over play calling duties. At this time last year, ASU was coming off a 29-0 loss at home against Fresno State. One of the worst games I have ever seen in any sport at any level. It was pathetic what we saw. This is a different team. And especially offensively, you have seen these guys more juiced up, more energized, more bought in to the scheme than they were last year. But it all starts with the culture that Kenny Dillingham has established. That's the difference. That's how you go from a 3-win program in back-to-back seasons to a 3-0 program to start the year. That's the difference. That's how you got to this point. The question now is whether or not you can continue to build on it or if it was a fluke. Because there are those questions. It's totally valid. We can be fair. I said at the start of the show, you need to give the Sun Devils their flowers. But you know what? We can also turn that coin over and say, ASU still has a lot to prove. You're 3-0 in your non-conference slate. Sure. How are you going to handle Big 12 play? Your first year in the Big 12. A pretty decent Big 12, and you're playing the best teams in the conference this year. You don't get the luxury of playing the lower level teams. You're going up against the best of the best. So sure, maybe you are 3-0. You could still end the year 3-9. You got some stuff to prove. We're going to talk about what happens next, though, for ASU. If they are able to take care of business, get to that 5-0 start. Coming up next, this is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel for good reason, because they're America's #1 sportsbook. But we have something a little different for you right now. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. For a person like me who's a Baltimore Ravens fan, I love that I'm able to tune into my games no matter where I'm at in the country. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment you can cancel at any time, by the way. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. One more time, wherever you're getting your shows, hit like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you get that update whenever we post new content. I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. What happens next for ASU? Let's say that you're able to get to that 5-0 start. First of all, what happens next starting from today? When Tuesday morning, I'm recording this Monday night. Tuesday morning of the 17th of September. I can't look at a calendar, apparently. What happens next? Well, it starts with preparing for Texas Tech the same way that you have prepared for every other opponent, because it's working. The way that you are practicing right now, the mentality, the intensity that they have is working. It's turning into wins. You're 3-0 because of the way that you are practicing day in and day out. So you need to keep doing what you're doing. You need to make sure that you take care of business on the road. You just played a really tough game against Texas State, and guess what? You came out on top because you were able to play your tails off, and you were able to prove that even when the going gets tough, the tough get going, classic saying, and that you can go blow for blow with any team. No matter the slow start you get off to. ASU was trailing 21-7 at one point during the game against Texas State. They end up beating them 31-28. They figure it out. So whatever you're doing, you need to keep it up. Then whatever you were able to do in San Marcos to beat Texas State, you need to be able to make sure that you replicate whatever it was that worked. There's something there, ladies and gentlemen. Now it's just a matter of unlocking it and getting it to that point. You do that, you're 4-0. You are 4-0. You officially have more wins through 4 games than you have had in each of the last 2 seasons. Do you understand how crazy that is? That's nuts. By the way, ASU's getting some recognition from the AP poll and the coaches poll. AP poll, they got 3 votes. I think coaches poll was about 25 to 30, somewhere in that ballpark. People are taking some notice. Not enough that we would like, but we're getting there. You start the year 4-0, people are really going to notice. They're going to go, what's going on in Tempe? Well, it starts with taking care of business on the road, proving that it's not just a Tempe thing. It's you can go anywhere in the country. You can go to Texas twice, go to Texas. Pretty difficult place to play. I don't care if you're in Austin. I don't care if you're in San Marcos. I don't care if you're in San Antonio. Wherever you are in Texas is a difficult place to play. ASU starts the year 2-0 with 2 wins in the state of Texas against 2 pretty darn good programs. One of them in your conference. Yeah, people are going to notice. Then you go into that bye week. Top priority, get healthy. Get healthy, get prepared, get rested, but stay on your edge. Make sure that you don't get comfortable. Make sure that you don't get lazy. I am all about taking a little bit of time to unwind, especially if you start the year 4-0. I think you deserve a little bit of time to just kind of take it in and go, man, look at where we are from last year. This feels good. Take that time, but then get right back to work, because then you're hosting Kansas, a slumping but good football team. You have to think they're probably going to get it right. And if they don't, then they've got some serious questions to answer this offseason. But that's still a quality football program. And hosting them is a really good way to kick off the Big 12 play in Tempe. You start the year 5-0. Is it possible? Absolutely, it's possible. You can beat Texas Tech. You can definitely beat Kansas. If you were to play Kansas this weekend in Tempe, if that game was this weekend, you'd be favored. Easily favored. I don't know by how much. I'm not a bookie. I don't know what a good one is. I suppose you'd start out like 5.5 or something. Maybe give them 30.5. I don't know. Not that crazy, obviously. You would be favored in this game, which is why in 3 weeks, things may be very different for ASU and Kansas. For now, you need to take care of business on the road against Texas Tech, who is favored in this game. It's not an easy task to get a road win in Lubbock and then to come home and beat one of the teams that was picked to be one of the 3 to 4 best teams in the conference this year. That's a tough start, but it's not impossible. And ASU could seriously start the year 5-0. At that point, you're absolutely ranked. My question, are you a conference heavyweight? All offseason, I said there are 2 tiers in the Big 12. There's the elite and there's the really bad. And then you have these teams that are kind of in limbo. And it's like, I don't really know where you belong, because I don't think there's a middle tier. I think it's these teams need to figure out if they're up here or if they're down here. I put ASU in that weird limbo group, even though they were picked to finish last, even though they're coming off 3-win seasons. They were in that limbo group for me because it's a good football team. And guess what? We're seeing it. Well, looks like they're closer to that top half, the top 5 to 6 teams, than they are the worst 3 or worst team in general in the conference. You start the year 5-0. Then you get Utah at home Friday night. That's the game where you can decide if you are a conference heavyweight, if you are a playoff contender, or if this is just a good step in the right direction during your rebuild. Who knows? We could be looking at a 3-3 start. This is not an easy start to Big 12 play. But you can also be 5-0, going into that Utah game with some serious momentum, serious confidence, and serious support from the Valley. 5-0 is possible, ladies and gentlemen. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm not going to lie. We still got to take it week by week. We got to have that one-game season mentality for the whole year. I'm not going to lie. I like the chances for ASU to start 5-0. What do you guys think? Is ASU starting 5-0? Are they starting 3-2? How do you think things are going to shake out over the next 2 games that they have in the Big 12 Conference? Let me know in the comments. You can always hit me up on Twitter as well at Richie Bradshaw36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Wherever you're getting your shows, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. And if you haven't subscribed on YouTube yet, do me that solid, hit that subscribe button and help us get to 1,000 subscribers. We will be back again tomorrow where we officially begin previewing Big 12 play. We start, of course, with Texas Tech, but then we take a look at the rest of the schedule. Kansas, Utah, Oklahoma State, Arizona, Kansas State, the rest of the slate that Arizona State has coming up. We take a look at it tomorrow, break it down, all that good stuff. I will see you there. Till then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun.